Hey, and welcome to the Mickey in Minutes podcast, the short Disney show.
Quick conversations, information, and inspiration.
I'm your host, Nick Lazaga.
And I'm Andy Goots.
Let's go! Among the many huge announcements back at D23 in 2024, there was one that cut to the core of the Disney community because it meant the closure of a beloved land at a Disney park. Now, I'm not talking about the Rivers of America and Tom Sawyer's Island closing for Cars Land in the Magic Kingdom. Tragic. But if you've listened to the Mickey in Minutes podcast at all in the last year or so, you know exactly my feelings on that. And no, I don't mean Muppets Courtyard closing for Monsters Inc. Land at Hollywood Studios. Heartbreaking, although that door coaster does look pretty amazing. I'm talking about the permanent closure of DinoLand USA. This, of course, is closing in favor of a new Tropical America's land called Plaza Esperanza, which will feature attractions based on the beloved IPs of Indiana Jones, awesome, and Encanto, very cool. Side note, Disney sure is closing a lot of lands to fit in new lands. Whatever happened to the blessing of size? Anyways, the DinoLand closing is happening in phases and actually already began way back in January of 2020. That's when Disney closed Primeval Whirl, the cartoony time travel themed wild mouse coaster. Remember that? It was pretty fun. Though that closure was unrelated to this project, or so they say, it still signaled the inevitable complete extinction of the land. Then, on January 12th, 2025, the park shut down the Chester and Hester's Dinorama section of the land, which included the confusingly themed Triceratops spin? Why wasn't it a pterodactyl? I don't know. And, of course, the Midway-style Fossil Fun games. The rest of the dino-themed land is slated to close sometime in 2026. That means the end of the thrill ride Dinosaur, or as us old-school Disney fans still call it, Countdown to Extinction. Of course, the Boneyard Kid Play Area, Restaurantosaurus, and all the other walkways and picturesque areas will close too. Although maybe calling them picturesque is putting it kindly, since many people just saw it as that terrible, tacky parking lot carnival area with the awesome dinosaur ride where you hear Bill Nye in the queue. And to be fair, that's exactly what it was. Intentionally. And, believe it or not, a lot of thought and storytelling and, of course, brilliant Imagineering went into making this campy land. None of it was out of laziness or a lack of creativity, like some people tend to think. It was all meticulously created to evoke a time and a place, just like any other land in a Disney park. But what time and what place? And what is the story? And why does it look so cheap? All great questions. And don't worry, I have answers. On this episode, I, your host, Nick Lazaga, am beginning a 3-part miniseries called Dismantling DinoLand, where I am going to give you some history and backstory of the soon-to-be-gone land, as well as look into the future for this area. I'm excited to dive into these topics in a solo, old-school Mickey in Minutes style. So, on this first episode, let me tell you a little bit about Dinorama and do my small part in preserving the legacy of this great Imagineering feat. So, let's dive right in. Disney's Animal Kingdom opened in 1998, the fourth of the Walt Disney World theme parks. And for those of you keeping score at home, that's 4 for Disney and 3 for Universal. Epic Universe is just them desperately trying to catch up to Disney. And guess what? They still need another to even match Disney. Disney is not falling behind. Disney is not terrified. But let me stop ranting and get back on topic. At the time, every Disney theme park had a unique identity. Magic Kingdom was fantasy. Studios was movie making. Epcot was discovery. And Animal Kingdom was, well, animals. But it was not a zoo. Or not a zoo. For anyone who doesn't remember that iconic commercial. It wasn't going to just feature the animals we typically think of in a zoo, but also mythical animals and dinosaurs. Or should I say mythical animals or dinosaurs? You see, what basically happened was they had these grand plans to include a full zoo in a full theme park. But they really underestimated how expensive it is to care for live animals and how much extra infrastructure that meant. Plus, at the last minute, they were slammed with major budget cuts due to their newest theme park, Euro Disneyland in Paris, severely underperforming. Thanks a lot, Euro Disneyland. So they had to make a choice between the two ideas. Beastly Kingdom, a land of dragons and fantasy creatures, or DinoLand USA, a land of, well, dinosaurs, which not so coincidentally already had an IP tie-in, since Disney Animation Studios was working on what would be their 39th feature. And I'm sure everybody remembers the smash hit Dinosaur. I'm just kidding. Spoiler alert, it actually flopped. Oops. Well, hindsight is 2020. Obviously, they went with DinoLand and slated Beastly Kingdom for Phase 2, which of course never happened. Unless you kind of include Avatar, which is fantasy-ish. Anyways, I digress. So, let's talk backstory. I am a sucker for a good Disney backstory, and I'm sure you are too, and that's why you're listening to a Disney podcast. And trust me, this is a fun one. So, think back in your brain to the heyday of DinoLand USA, when all the attractions were still there, and it wasn't mostly just a construction site. Remember how it looked like an old parking lot with some games and cheap rides? Well, again, that was intentional. So here's the story. Back in the 1940s, this area was home to a simple little fishing lodge, the building that is now known as Restaurantosaurus. In 1947, an amateur fossil hunter made a huge discovery on this land. He discovered, you guessed it, a dinosaur fossil. So he and a few of his scientist buddies decided to purchase the land. Then word got out that dinosaur bones could be found there, and of course people flocked to the area. So they turned the fishing lodge into the Dino Institute, a sort of museum/visitor center for people interested in dinosaurs. But Nick, isn't there already a Dino Institute? Isn't that a restaurant? Yes, I know. I'm getting there. Eventually, the Dino Institute grew, and they built a new state-of-the-art facility. And this is where the dinosaur attraction sits now. And what happened to the old Dino Institute? Well, it became kind of a commissary/dormitory for the grad students who work and study at the Dino Institute. So the restaurant is basically run by them. And on their off time, they like to sit on the roof and goof off, doing normal things like shooting arrows at a water tower. No, I'm serious. Look at that water tower before they take it down. There are arrows stuck to it. You can actually see evidence of their mischief all around the area. And of course, evidence of their work at the nearby dig site. Meanwhile, down the road from all this, there was Chester and Hester's gas station. A humble little gas station. But when they heard that dinosaur bones were found near them, they saw dollar signs. So they created their own roadside tourist trap called Chester and Hester's Dinorama. They took a fun, silly approach, opposite to the stuffy academics and scientists down the road. Now everybody knows that a good roadside attraction has a big weenie to draw people in. So they created the Cementosaurus. It was so big it could be seen from the highway. And of course they threw up some billboards. They also turned their old gas station store into a gift shop that they called Dinosaur Treasures. The irony is that they were already making money off of dinosaurs long before it was a gift shop, since it was a gas station. Get it? Anyways, Chester and Hester added rides and midway games to their roadside carnival. Triceratops Spin was a playful attraction for children, and Primeval Whirl was their version of what they heard was going on inside the Dino Institute. You see, supposedly, the scientists invented a time rover and had plans to go back in time to the time of the extinction of the dinosaurs. Crazy, right? It'll never work. So, that's what their little roller coaster was themed to. They even had cartoony-looking serious scientists and their own time rover ride vehicles. They had dinosaur cutouts looking terrified of these falling meteors. It was pretty accurate, in a silly, cartoony way. Well, Chester and Hester nailed it. Their campy little roadside attraction was cashing in on all the dino hype in the area. And of course, the college kids at Restaurantosaurus loved it. But the stuffy scientists and greedy corporate people hated it. Although I like to think that Dr. Grant Seeker probably loved it there too. And it's more than likely the case that he bought that dinosaur puppet at Dinosaur Treasures. You know the one. Hello there. But more on him on episode 2. Well, there you have it. Now you know why DinoLand USA looked so cheap. It was intentionally designed to look like a Route 66 road-style attraction, and a fishing lodge turned restaurant by grad students, and a foreboding dinosaur institute. And all that supposedly popped up there because an amateur once found some fossils. Huh. Isn't that a great story? Now, if you're listening to the episode now, like around the time that it's released, go and explore what's left of DinoLand USA and look for all the hidden details that speak to this amazing backstory. And if you're listening to this episode in the future, well, go on YouTube. It's all there. I'm sure of it. I hope you enjoyed listening to this episode as much as I enjoyed researching it. I actually got most of this information from an awesome book called The Imagineering Field Guide to Disney's Animal Kingdom. It's such a good book. They actually made 4 of these, one for each Orlando Disney park, and they're really good reads if you like backstory and little Imagineering details. And now it's over to you. What was your favorite part of Chester and Hester's Dinorama? Let me know by sending me a direct message on Instagram or leaving your answer in a review on Spotify or Apple or YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. And please join me every Monday live on Instagram at 8 p.m. Central Time for MIM Mondays. That's one of my favorite things we do over here at Mickey in Minutes. That's where I get to talk about the latest Disney news with you guys. So thanks again so much for listening. Look out for part 2 of this mini-series very soon. And we'll see you next time. Bye.
Thanks again for listening to the Mickey in Minutes podcast. If you liked it, subscribe and leave a review on Apple, Spotify, or YouTube. Follow us at Mickey in Minutes on Instagram and check out mickeyinminutes.weebly.com for more content.